Welcome to In Real Time, where we as Heights Church are inviting you in for real conversations about leading people, organizations, and change in the new normal. We're hoping that our real discussions about our church's journey will help you as you reimagine and rebuild yours. Well, hello, Craig Sweeney here, and welcome to In Real Time, where we're having real conversations about leading people, organization, and change. And this is part 2 of the pace of change. We had a great conversation last time, and if you missed part 1, you're going to want to go back and listen to that one because we're going to build on that process now. In week 1, we talked about the first stage, which is formation of the actual idea. And that has everything to do with the pace of change, because we know that there are changes that need to be made. Yep. So I'm digging a little bit into the content. I don't want to go much further without introducing my co-hosts. So why don't you two introduce yourselves?
So I'm Jen. I'm an associate pastor here, help a lot with our administration in the office and back end kind of stuff. And then I also help with our restoration ministries.
Nice.
And some women's stuff too, and prayer.
Sweet.
All good.
Really good.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
I'm Tim. I'm also an associate pastor here. I oversee the online church and one of the teaching pastors on staff.
Very, very cool.
And
very,
some
very
other
cool.
stuff.
Yeah, and some other stuff.
That's right. That's right. All right. So did you see how I did that?
Yes.
Flexing
If
my
those who
Ultra
weren't
Watch.
Here we
see
go
part
again.
1 could see that.
Oh,
You
I
got your
apologize
Ultra
again.
Watch. Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Loving my Ultra Watch has changed my life. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about this idea of pace of change, a couple things. We are assuming that you know what the change is. We've already talked a couple episodes ago about the things that you will stop, start, and have faith for here at the beginning of the year, 2023. So when you are clear about what that change is, now we're going to talk about how you implement it. So we're assuming you are clear about what the change is. We know that success for change, it can absolutely happen. We definitely see it. And it happens when you have the right idea, the right people, and the right timing. And if you get any of those right things wrong, you're not most likely going to see success. And this does require humility. Yeah. Because you're going to be getting a lot of feedback. And I'll tell you what you're doing, as we learned last time, you really are building trust. You're building trust through this process. This is how you do it. People wonder, how do I build trust? Well, this is how you build trust.
Yeah.
And so, again, you might want to go back to part 1 if you did not hear that, and you'll get much more out of part 2. So this week we're talking about stage 2, which is implementation and communication.
Right.
So as we talk about that, what is step 1 of implementation and communication?
Oh, you got that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the meeting before the meeting. So like know ultimately who this is going to get communicated to, but you bring it to your first level, first layer, your higher level leaders, volunteers, whatever situation you're dealing with. With us, most of the time it's our management team.
Right. That's our group that really kind of oversees the management of the church.
6 of the pastors.
Yep. Then we have our staff, which is about together about 26.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Obviously,
so
we have our board.
Yeah, so with our changes that we want to implement, we pace it by bringing it first to that smaller group that are going to be much more impacted by it. And that's where you do the poking and the prodding. That's where you set it on the table and you say, what do you think, guys?
Yeah.
Here's what
I think I've got a great
idea
here. What do you think?
Then you get a lot more information to make it a better idea.
That's right. That's exactly right. It becomes a better idea.
Makes the decision, which is only going to make everything stronger.
Absolutely. You know, we had talked last week. If you haven't listened, you need to.
Yeah, you need to.
Because we talked about a decision that we made kind of in isolation. We didn't poke it.
It was ugly.
It wasn't ugly, and that was the idea of doing childcare for life groups and other ministries. And we decided, well, it was a financial decision.
Yeah.
We had to make it.
We had to make it, but we didn't. We had the right idea. we just we didn't tell the right people, and we didn't do it in the right timing.
Right.
And it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And we had to have a lot of conversations. We had,
We upset people.
we did upset people.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important to have these meetings before the meeting.
Right.
It's going to impact these ministries. It's going to impact these leaders or volunteers.
Right.
And so we have to have those conversations saying, here's something that we need to do. And then get feedback from them and hear why it's, why this may impact them, how it would impact them.
Yeah.
So that we can have that dialogue, come up with a game plan, and then move forward.
Yeah.
You can't miss this step.
Can't
Yes,
miss
the
it.
wet
People won't
cement
be on.
stage.
Yeah, wet cement still. People won't be on board. And as you move forward, as you release it to the larger crowd,
good.
You
Yeah.
want advocates.
Yeah.
And you want to settle these other things before you move forward. Or
Yeah.
you may be putting out large fires.
That's right. So you need to ask yourself, with this change, who is
Yes.
this going to impact the most? Who's going to have to sacrifice for it? And we didn't ask that question about the child care at all. No. We just knew we needed to make the decision, and we assumed people knew. And the truth is, for us, that was, I don't think, it's okay. We're transparent about our finances here. That was about a $28,000 decision.
Yes.
So we were pretty clear we need to save that in our budget,
Yeah.
but we had not communicated that to our church. And so we needed to, we didn't. And so, of course, we got blowback.
Yeah.
So we did do this process. We just did it in reverse.
Yeah.
They became our friends again when we had the meetings after the meetings. Should have been the meeting before the meeting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It's good. So we talk to leaders, you get your influencers, those people that are going to have something to say about it and that you want telling other people good things about it. One of the things that we've discovered, though, and I've discovered this over time, is that not everybody's going to love your idea.
Right.
They're not all going to just get 100% buy-in. And is that okay?
Absolutely.
It is,
That's
right?
Any new thing you
Yeah.
implement, you're
Right.
never going to have 100%.
No, you don't even get 100% in your marriage, for crying out loud, okay? But what you do get is you get to the place where you can ask a question. I think it's very important, especially for senior leaders, to ask this question. But are you willing to go with us on this journey? That's the important question.
Yep.
It's like, okay, this isn't the decision I would necessarily make, but you know what? I can do it. Well, that's good. That's all I need.
Yeah.
And as long as we can do that together, we're friends. I'm good. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to be your friend even if you hate it, but
Right.
we can do this together, and you can still be supportive even if you don't
Yeah.
love it.
Because now you have an advocate,
Yeah.
you have a teammate, you have an owner, and you get to move forward together in clarity.
So good.
And these conversations are great.
They are.
But once you make that decision, you know that, hey, we're on the same team.
Right.
And you can move forward and now you have more influence in a positive way for the direction you want to go with your change.
Yeah.
And that way, because, let's say I'm pulling Jen on board and she's like, yep, I can get behind it. She's going to have her own conversations with other people that I will not have conversations with.
Yes.
So now we just grew that influence by double.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we had that agreement.
Right.
That we're gonna go move forward together in unison.
That's right.
And
That's right.
it's the power of the ask that was a personal, hey, I know you're not on board 100%. You have a disagreement here, but can you go along with me on this?
Yeah.
Do you see the why behind what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And that's what makes the difference.
That's right.
You're giving that personal ask rather than just, this is what we're doing, and I don't care what you think.
Yeah, that never goes well. Not in
Never.
marriage, not in friendship, and not in churches.
Not in ministry.
When are we going to learn this lesson? Hopefully we did learn the lesson, and we're going to go through this process. It's so good. All right, so when we're talking about stage 2, implementation and communication, we're having the meetings before the meetings. It's good. All right, the second part of this is when to implement. Now, this is something that we get wrong. And we get it wrong.
Easy to.
I'm saying we, meaning senior leaders. But it's not just senior leaders.
No.
It's leaders of ministries.
All done it.
Everybody does it. Everybody does it. But it is important that we recognize that this idea of when do I implement it? I can remember I can remember, Jen, you've been with me for the last 13 years here at the planting of this church. And also Pastor Cheryl, our executive pastor, I'd come in and I'd talk to the two of you. And I go, hey, I've got this great idea. It's going to be awesome. It's like, oh, that's a good idea. When are you going to do that? We're going to do it in 3 weeks. And I remember Cheryl, we were going to do our first campaign. I remember the first campaign we were ever going to do at the church. I said, this is going to be so cool. We're going to do this campaign. She's like, great. When are we doing it? Is it in the spring? I'm like, no, we're doing it in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It's in the fall. The fall's in 2 weeks. So we're going to do it in 2 weeks. She goes, Craig, you can't do that in 2 weeks. I'm like, sure I can. Because I'm a visionary. My head is in the clouds, and I've never done a campaign in my life. She knew exactly what she was talking about because she had been through one.
Yeah.
She'd been through many. I had no idea what I was talking about. I had a lot of good ideas, and I did have a good idea. I was talking to the right people.
Oh, wow.
But it was
he
the
just saved
wrong
himself.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. You were having the meetings before the meeting.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh,
That's right.
oh,
I was.
See, you were.
I mean,
That's
you're,
right.
You're doing it.
And I was not
wasn't a
humble.
complete fail.
I'll be honest with you, I was irritated. I'm like, you just don't have faith.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, I'm just an idiot. I need to listen to her, and I'm so glad I did because it would have never worked.
Good job,
So,
Cheryl. We love you.
We just went through this again about 1 year and 4 months ago. We knew we were going to have to do a campaign for the to get our feet underneath us as a church as we're coming out of the pandemic. And we knew that was going to happen. But because of these and that wise counsel she gave me years ago, I knew it couldn't be done in the fall because it was in the fall we realized that we had to do it.
Yeah.
There wasn't time. It had to happen in the spring.
Yeah, we had to be strategic. You can't launch that right before the holidays.
No.
No.
So we,
Love
now I
all
would have done it because I believe I can just get up and move people. I believe it.
You keep believing.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That Journey song is about me.
Dude, I almost said that.
Believe it. Just keep believing. But cultural reference.
Yeah.
Bring them back.
Awesome. That's a great song. Anyway, but when to implement, really, really crucial. And so because we knew we couldn't do it in the fall, we had to wait till the spring. But that's wisdom.
Oh, you got to be
And the
so
feedback was
strategic about
needed.
that.
Yeah.
You want this to succeed.
Yeah. And I want to
You
do
don't
it in
want to shoot
February.
yourself in the foot up front.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
wound up doing it April 1st.
Yeah. And it worked.
That was the right
Yeah,
timing.
it was
It
great.
worked out great, and God used it.
And there are decisions that can be made quickly. Like we referenced in part 1 of this podcast, the feedback we got from some focus groups on the volume.
Yeah.
And so you went to the worship team and the production team, had that conversation. Well, that was something that we could make those adjustments in the mix and do all that within a week or two. It was
That's right.
settled.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But then, we talked about life groups. That was
Right.
something that took 6 months to a year to actually launch. And because we waited on implementing those time, we have the vast majority, 80 to 85% of our people at that time. And that's even more now.
Yeah, yeah. And just a clarification side note in parentheses, I know that every church deals with this question of how high is the volume going to be or how low is the volume going to be. And so I just want to say that this is a question we take very seriously and we walked through in humility.
Yeah.
But we all know that there is a volume that is too high and there's a volume that's too low. And we answered this question, I think, correctly, and we've seen the benefit of it. And it's good for everyone, the worship team, our people, and we have the best experience that we can through our worship because we got feedback and the worship team in humility said, okay, let's make it better.
And that's what we mean by when, you talk to some people would say, well, we loved the mix and the bass and all that and the volume. We loved it.
Yeah.
But what was best for the kingdom and for our people, so that was a internal spot where we said, but can you go along with this decision?
Oh, that's a good point. Yes.
And so our production team and our worship team, may want it one way, but we're in their humility said, no, we'll just do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Even though it wasn't maybe what they personally would want.
Right.
But we did it anyway.
Yeah.
And we got there, and we've had a great outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really
some can
good.
go quick, some can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talk about stage 2 of implementing and communicating, all under the title of the pace of change.
Right.
Talked about the meeting before the meeting, have them, learn from them, and then let them work for you. Because now those people are influencing
That's good.
for that change. And you want that. Talking about when to implement, Timing is crucial. And what we know is that you can move. The pace of your change can happen at the pace you walk through this process.
Yeah.
And I cannot say that enough. I
with the
cannot
process.
emphasize that enough. If you've not walked through this process, then you're moving too quickly.
Yeah.
The pace of your change is too quick.
Yeah.
So go through the process, make sure you've done it, and yes, be thorough.
Yeah.
And then you're ready to make your change. Now you know you're moving at the right pace of change for this change that needs to be implemented.
Yes. And
good.
you just set yourself up for success, which
You
is
did.
what you want anyway.
That's what you want. It's what you want. And you brought everybody with you, or at least most people.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last part of this is communication to the right people in the right sequence. We've kind of talked about this as well, but I want to say be patient, which I am not. When I make a decision and I want to make a change, I'm there. I am already there.
You can see it.
But you know what? It's going to be 4 months from now before we can do it. I just need to be patient. And I got to realize that when I'm talking with people, and remember when we were going through specifically the campaign last year, I would meet with groups of people, and even though this was meeting number 18,
Yeah.
it's the first time they've heard it.
Hearing it.
I've got to be patient with their questions. And yeah, they were the same questions I had answered in the 17 other meetings.
Right.
So what?
Right.
This is what, as a leader, I get to do. This is how you do it. And it worked. It brought the change we needed. So be patient with people. It's the first time they've heard it, even though I've dealt with it for 6 months. I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, they've got the same questions you had the first
right.
time you were
They
thinking
do.
of it.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally like they're questioning your intelligence
Right.
when they ask these questions. Well, did you think about this? Well, yeah, actually, I've been thinking about it and dreaming about
Yeah.
it for the last 4 months. Of course I
right.
did.
That's right.
They're not meaning any disrespect. They just need to know the why too.
That's right. And this again, I'll say it again, this is when and how you build trust. Yeah. If you're impatient with this process, you're not building trust. You're actually, people are starting to wonder, why do they want to go so fast? What are they hiding?
Yeah.
Have they thought this thing through? Which are not things that lead you to trust.
Yeah.
That leads you away from trust. What you want people to say is, oh, we know how they process change and we can trust them.
Yeah.
And you actually, in time, get to process change quicker if you have trust.
Yeah.
So that's just crucial for this.
true.
Another thing about this communicating is we think about it this way. We love to say this phrase, no surprises. As often as possible, I don't want there to be any surprises. So I'm going to let you in on it as soon as I can. I want to bring you in on it as soon as I can so there's no surprises for you. Continue to ask for feedback. Listen intently. That's so good.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Thinking about the order of who, like sometimes it's the board first who needs to know, then it's
Great point.
management, then it's staff.
Yeah.
Just being intentional about what is the order here, who
That's
needs
right.
to know first, second, and third.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that order is not always the same.
You're right.
You've
It
got to
isn't.
think it through. You just
do.
can't go, hey, last time we did it this way.
That's right.
It could be completely different.
Could be completely different. Yeah.
Make sure you take the time, think it through.
Yeah. And that usually takes about 4 minutes. It
Right.
doesn't take a long time to
Yeah,
think it through,
no.
but ask the question.
Yep.
That's really good. All right. So our challenges for this are, hey, change can happen, but only at the pace you go through this process. So let that challenge how we walk through the pace of change.
Yeah.
Change what needs to be changed. There are things that need to be changed. Let's do it. Let's not
Yeah.
hide from it. Let's not be afraid of it. Let's embrace it, but let's do it the right way.
Yeah.
Do it in the order and you'll have better success. Right idea, right people, right timing. Love it. Anything else we need to add to this? Or are we good?
No, this has been great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
Okay.
us.
Yeah.
Such good information.
Yeah. Thanks for, and I know you guys have been a part of the journey and a lot of changes. Talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, thanks for joining us. And if you love this content, please hit like and subscribe, the bell notification, and you will not miss an episode as it is dropped. Thanks for joining us for In Real Time, where we're having conversations about leading people, organizations, and change. We'll see you next time.